how we see ourselves affects our whole life. We know in our hearts that we have a talent, or we know that we have a seed of greatness, as Joel Osteen always says, but we have something in us that's valuable. But if our identity has been damaged, if our identity is wounded, it will really hold us back. And we will never rise any higher than how we see ourselves. Hello, this is Lorraine, and welcome to Healthy Living, Spirit, Soul, and Body. So today we're going to be talking about identity. And think about it, really the identity that we have as adults was really built in our childhood based on maybe how our parents treated us or what words they used. Ed Milet, I've been listening to him a lot lately, and he has a book called The Power of One More, and he talks a lot about identity. And I've also heard him share this story. His father was an alcoholic, and apparently Ed Milet's mother threatened the father and said, if you don't stop drinking, I'm going to kick you out of the house. So the father really knew that he was given an ultimatum and that the mother would stick to that ultimatum. And so he told Ed Milet, when he was only 15 years old, that he was going to stop drinking one more time. His father has passed away now, and his father really did stay sober from that point till he passed away, and he became Ed Milet's hero. But my point is that somebody had to have helped Ed Milet's father, and the thing that qualified that man to help Ed Milet's father was that he was also a drunk, and he knew what it was like, and he was able to pull Ed Milet's father out of that terrible lifestyle. Don't always look at your past as something that you can't ever grow out of. That, my father was an alcoholic, so I'm messed up and I'm always going to be messed up. That kind of thinking is not healthy, and it's going to keep you having a really distorted identity. Because think about it, anytime you make excuses, you're robbing yourself of the ability to change, because you're saying, I can't change because it's somebody else's fault. Let's talk a little bit about identity. Let's see, what can we do to raise our identity? What can we do to increase our own value in our own eyes? Because when we see ourselves as valuable, then we can really make a difference. Then we know that we have something on the inside of us that can help change somebody else, that can help somebody else. So here we go. So what is our identity? Really, our identity is how we see ourselves. What value do we give ourselves? And really, in a lot of ways, how we see ourselves affects our whole life, okay? So a lot of times we know in our hearts that we have a talent, or we know that we have a seed of greatness, as Joel Osteen always says, but we have something in us that's valuable. But if our identity has been damaged, if our identity is wounded, it will really hold us back, and we will never rise any higher than how we see ourselves. Ed Milet, as I mentioned before, he wrote the book, The Power of One More, and he says that our identity is like a thermostat. And so say your identity is 75. Even though you might excel at certain things, even though you might go to school and get skills, if your identity is at 75 and these skills that you're acquiring are 100, you're going to find a way to bring yourself back down to 75, because you will never rise any higher than the value that you place on yourself. So really, we need to figure out how to change that thermostat. See, here's the thing. It's not the external circumstances in our life that determine our success. It's really how we see ourselves that determines the end result. Our thermostat setting or our identity is the determining factor. So there's three things that Ed Milet talks about in his book that we can do to help raise our identity, okay? And the first thing he talks about is faith. And what Ed Milet says, if you have a faith, if you believe in God, in a God who loves you, who cares about you, who is directing your steps, who knows the end from the beginning and really loves you just for who you are, not based on what you do. So when you know that and you have a faith that's not just a Sunday faith, you have a trust and belief in God that is for every day. If you're say you're leading a meeting or you're going into a meeting and you have to make a presentation, why not trust and believe that God's going to help you with the presentation? God's going to help you prepare. In other words, having a faith and incorporating God into your everyday life is going to make a difference. You're going to help see yourself as valuable because you're going to see how much God values you, and that's going to make all the difference. And the second way that you can build your identity is by giving yourself credit for your intentions. You know, a lot of times we feel like we can only give ourselves credit if we have a certain accomplishment. That's going to harm the way we see ourselves because we're always going to be trying to stretch and reach something that has yet to come. And really, we need to see value in ourselves right now, regardless of accomplishments. So the second way to do that, and the way to do that is by knowing that our intentions are good. If we have, say for instance, we're going into that meeting and we intend to do a good job, our heart is right. We're intending to have servant leadership. We're intending to bless other people and to help them. That knowing our intention is going to help us feel good about ourselves. And that's one of the ways that we can build our identity, because we know our hearts and we know that we intend to do good. And it's just knowing that is going to change how we see ourselves. And the third thing that you can do is hang around the right people. Really, the people that you hang around are going to affect your identity. So you're a 75 degreer, okay, say in finances, okay? And if you start hanging around with people that have 100 degree, that are 100 degrees in their finances, it's going to rub off on you. You're going to see what habits they have in their lives. You're going to see how they handle their money, and it's going to teach you. It's going to raise your identity just hanging around them. Because the bottom line is you are a product of the people you hang around the most with. If you hang around the turkeys long enough, you're going to think you're a turkey, okay? But if you hang around the eagles, especially if you really are an eagle, which you are, we all have seeds of greatness. We all have great things that we can be and that we can do, okay? So if you start hanging around other people that are aspiring to their goals, that are thinking big, it's going to rub off on you. If you're going to be thinking on a higher level just by hanging around people that think that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe and like this video. I do always want to help you to think a little bit differently to raise your identity in this instance. Take some steps to start going in the right direction. Do some things to raise your identity, because your identity, remember, it determines your life. You really won't be able to go any further with your life until you change how you see yourself. So let this inspire you. Take those steps that I mentioned. Help see yourself the way God sees you. Judge yourself by your intentions and hang around the right people. go in the right direction, even if you take baby steps, because it's all going to make a difference. You know, you're sowing seeds to your future. And isn't it true, a lot of times when we start changing, we don't notice how far we've changed till we look back. So don't allow yourself to be discouraged. Your life and your gifts and talents that are in you are extremely valuable. Don't let them go to waste, okay? So have an absolutely wonderful day. In New Jersey, it's really starting to feel like fall. So as you can tell, I have my little flannel shirt on, but have an absolutely wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.